What is important to understand is that the vampiric strand was biologically engineered or created to serve as a function. In the language of the immortals, the word vampire derives from the phrase Vanda transda psychogita, and it means something like this: constant negative transductions of biological energy between the dimensions. Now, as to the first and the third strands, these were created in Atlantis 25,595 years ago by our ancestors, who received this knowledge from extraterrestrial beings of unknown origin. The Atlanteans were deceived by these sinister extraterrestrials and led to believe that the only path to immortality was to be achieved by decoupling the soul from the biological vessel, but this was only partly true. The truth is this: the non-terrestrials gave the Atlanteans certain knowledge of how to engineer the third strand, supposedly for their own betterment. The real truth was the non-terrestrials wanted to transduce and siphon off the psychic and living energy of the Atlanteans from the third dimension where they lived to the fallen dimension where the non-terrestrials resided. The Atlanteans eventually fell so deep they arrived at a place not unlike that which religious tradition knows as hell. This was the reward they received for having so willingly contracted the strand in their lust for immortality. They became nothing more than siphons, siphoning psychic energy for their unknown masters, whilst they themselves entered a state of frozen agelessness, and the surplus energy their masters consumed. All we have is their holographic, schematic frequency, and it is as follows.
What do vampires feed off? Energy, of course. Primarily psychic and biological. There are many appealing different kinds of energy in different strengths. Of course, the most appealing energy is that derives from the sexual act. Thereafter is that which emanates from the vivid energy of a young youth. As regards per unit of energy, the most energy is to be derived from the blood. Hence, most unrefined vampires feed directly from the blood. What does it feel like to be a vampire? Most sensory is more refined, yet more subtle, though the sense of smell and sight become much more vivid. Pain is not felt in the normal way a human feels it. Just as an unwell human may be unaware that he is burdened by carrying around the physical vessel. A vampire, by comparison, feels light and weightless. For a human to feel the same sensation, they need to take drugs, such as the onset Valium and morphine, mixed together with some kind of stimulant. For a vampire, all normal human addiction and desire is lost, and their human level of response becomes cold as a stone. As a response, vampires frequently become numb to normal human emotion and restless. A vampire is a pure slave to the energy source that it craves. Yes, a vampire may love. It's a genetic modified strand, but it is only love that seeks to extract energy from the thing that it loves or has entranced, so that it may take its life energy as if it were its own life blood.
Because a vampiric vessel is much more immersed in the extra dimensions, the link between the telepathic bands are much closer. A vampiric vessel is not only many times more receptive to these telepathic bands, but to all other forms of phenomena, such as telekinesis and paranormal titles.
The answer is yes to both questions. But what is interesting is the reason why. What dictates this is the simple law of vibration. A vampire may appear to be superior to humans, but they are not. For they are of a much lower vibration, which is closer to a hell realm than a human.
In theory, we are immortal. We know nothing of death. We were created before time and will live longer than the earth itself. At least until the earth should die and be reborn. Perhaps 300,000 years or more. But our ancient foe, that miserable wreck, mortal man, called forth by his God from clay and mud, hunts us where he can find us and destroys us as we sleep in our tombs. Such is his envy of us. We, the creatures spun from starlight and the darkness. He, a creature of slime and chalk and mud. At the point of natural death, a small window opens, and through it can be ministered a strand. And if it connects with the DNA before it decays, a creature can be reanimated. Such a creature we call the undead. Believe me, this strand exists today, and very soon an attempt will be made to introduce it again, perhaps disguised as a drug for immortality, or even a disease.